Dear parishioners, both here, near, and afar, who are participating in this live broadcast and throughout the day by recording, we have entered Holy Week. Nearly 40 days ago, on Ash Wednesday, the churches were full everywhere as Lent began. By the middle of Lent, everything seemed to have stopped. Restrictions, limitations were imposed with ever-increasing isolation as this pandemic increased everywhere around the world and in our own country. This holiest of weeks in Christendom may seem to us to have been sabotaged by the devil in the disguise of a plague or a virus. For 3 Sundays now, and every day in between, we cannot assemble as a large gathering for public prayer and worship beyond 2 persons or 10 persons, as the case may be. Even our funeral rites and our weddings are reduced to very small numbers. When Jesus began his public life, we celebrated the event when he was baptized in the Jordan by John, and then he withdrew and spent 40 days in the desert to prepare himself for the ultimate week of this life, and ours too, which is Holy Week, a confrontation between evil and salvation. I believe that since March 16th, when the restrictions were imposed, all of us in some way have left our public social life of daily living. We too, like Jesus, have entered a type of desert. This is the desert of the stay home, a desert of deprivation and limitation in many ways. Social distancing. Many have been deprived also of their jobs, their income, their employment. Many businesses have also been deprived of their careers. Many have lost also a loved one in this crisis, and all of us live in some fear of contagion. Now, God did not cause this plague. The Book of Wisdom would tell us that. God does not cause evil. But is it not true that all of us have somehow, like Jesus, entered a desert of 40 days or 80 days or whenever these limits are lifted? Here we know that we imitate Jesus because he has entered a desert repast of 40 days. And so like Jesus, there is going to be the experience of deprivation in our lives too. No social contacts. The food we enjoy often is scarcer. Other items are in short supply. And many people are alone or isolated. Life has slimmed greatly in our desert experience here and throughout the world. We ask ourselves, though, this desert experience, is it bad? Is deprivation something evil, or can there be good derived from it? The answer to all this deprivation is really proclaimed in today's great liturgy, the Passion of the Lord. The ultimate giving up, or the ultimate sacrifice, is not simply the deprivation of 40 days in a desert experience. The ultimate deprivation is to deprive oneself, to give up one's own life, to sacrifice oneself for the sake of other people. This is the substance of Holy Week that we've just proclaimed in this proclamation of the Passion. And throughout the next 7 days, the Church wants us to follow Jesus with a lively faith. The days mark the sacrifice of Jesus, his confrontation with also the deprivation of justice, injustice granted him by King Herod and by Pontius Pilate. He endured all this for one purpose, for the sake of the human race. As we will shortly proclaim on Easter Vigil night, the Exultet, we speak to the Heavenly Father and say, Father, your love was so great that to ransom slaves you gave up your only Son. Jesus began his mission in life by withdrawing into that desert, depriving himself of most of the creature comforts, to prepare himself so that at the climax of his life, he could willingly deprive himself of life itself, so that others could live with him forever. So, these 7 days, these holiest days of the week of the year, it finds us not gathered as one large assembly in our church and churches, but at a distance from one another, but not at any distance from the Lord. As we withdraw from each other, we can find a closeness with Christ in individual and solitary ways. Isolation from our normal habits, we call that deprivation, means there's going to be a resemblance to the Lord's own experience. as he slowly gave up things in life and his life itself. And this resemblance to the Lord is how salvation works within us. The more we identify with the Lord in his sufferings, in his passions, and our own modern ways in 2020, and in his sacrifices, the more we're going to resemble him as he slowly gives himself away, the human meaning of death itself, a death that he voluntarily accepted. Let us then follow Christ as we are doing right now, participating in this broadcast and this liturgy. Let us follow him throughout this Holy Week with that lively faith, so that we may learn to imitate him not only mystically through his passion, but one day be like him fully in the life of his resurrection. Amen.
Hoy, Domingo de Ramos del Señor. Hoy, Domingo de Ramos de la Pasión del Señor, marca el principio de la Semana Santa. El Evangelio, Marcos 26, 14 al 27 y 66, nos recuerda el sufrimiento y muerte de nuestro Señor Jesucristo. Y nos preguntamos, ¿por qué Jesús tuvo que sufrir esa muerte tan cruel? Sabemos que Jesús era completamente divino, pero también completamente humano, excepto por el pecado. Por ejemplo, si nos lastimáramos las manos martillando, piensen en el dolor que sentiríamos. Pero del mismo modo, Jesús, aunque siendo un carpintero profesional, sentiría ese mismo dolor. Piensa por un momento en tu cabeza ensangrentada y llena de dolor porque alguien empujó una corona de espinas sobre ella. Piensa en el dolor que sentirías si alguien atravesara las palmas de tus manos con un clavo. Piensa estar clavado en una cruz casi sin poder respirar. Jesús sufrió todos estos tormentos y muerte brutal. Pero también piensa en la soledad en que Jesús sintió cuando sus hermanos no permanecieron con ojos abiertos en el jardín, cuando Pedro lo negó 3 veces, y durante el abandono de estar sin amigos ante Poncio Pilato. Y me pregunto, ¿es esta la forma en que Jesús se siente cuando pecamos? Solo, traicionado, abandonado. Jesús dijo una vez, nadie tiene amor más grande que el del dar su vida por los amigos. El amor de Jesús fue tan intenso que Él estaba dispuesto a dar su vida por no solamente sus discípulos y sus enemigos, sino que también por todos nosotros. Esto, en resumen, es la historia de nuestra salvación.